NASCAR's in the middle of its 2-week Olympic break, but that doesn't mean that we're taking a break here in the garage area from bringing you all the content that you want to know about when it comes to the middle of the season in the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Truck Series. We're going to break down the playoffs, talk about all the news that's happened, and kind of give an update on what we've been up to this season as well. Well, let's start by looking at the playoffs and where we're at right now, who's looking to battle to get in. We're going to start with the Cup Series and work our way down to the Truck Series. Ryan did all the research on this, so I'm just going to let him go with it.
Yeah, so there's 4 races left for the regular season for the Cup Series. Starting off with just the regular season championship, it's a tight battle between, we'll say, the top 4 within 43 points. You got Kyle Larson leading, even missing a race.
Yeah, that's the wild part of that stat.
Chase 10 behind. Reddick 15 behind, and then Denny Hamlin 43, which is still within reach with a 4-race stretch.
You know, I don't want to interrupt you, but I wouldn't have guessed that Tyler Reddick was in third in the points.
I wouldn't have either.
I know that he's run really well lately. He's scored a lot of points, but I wouldn't have guessed that he was third. And I probably wouldn't have guessed Chase Elliott was second either. He's just kind of quietly putting together good finishes.
Ryan Blaney fifth at 73 back. That's probably a little bit of a stretch at that point. So
yeah, to win the
regular season championship. So that's a tight battle. It'd almost be interesting to see how this would play out on a full race schedule.
Yeah,
if you had stages and stuff. 'Cause, I mean, 10 points might seem like a lot, 10 positions, but with the stages and stuff like that, it's all doable in one race.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So now we just look at the cut line picture, which is really the most important part here, I guess. It's a tight battle between Bubba Wallace and Ross Chastain. A little bit ago, I think they were starting to write Bubba Wallace off of the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's only 7 points behind Chastain now. And Chastain has been struggling as of late. Chris Buescher is only 17 above the cut line himself, so he's in danger too. So it'll be interesting to see the next 4 weeks, and especially if there's a new winner. I mean, that's always puts a wrench on things, especially a place like Daytona. So
yeah, that's a fact. Yeah. I got to be honest that it kind of surprises me to see Ross Chastain battling on the bubble, just because for some reason, I don't know why, I just feel like he's put together some better finishes than to be a bubble driver.
Yeah.
And I was going back and looking at some of the things that we predicted at the beginning of the season. I had Ross Chastain as my champion this year, and he might not even get into the playoffs at all.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have him missing the playoffs, and he's right on that edge. So. But I also had Bubba Wallace in, so that was
Ross he has not won a race this year, right?
No, he has not.
I didn't think so, but I just wanted to double check the list, and Suarez has, and I don't think anybody would have predicted that at the beginning of the year.
I mean, it's unpredictable at restrictor plate tracks like Atlanta where he won. So, I mean, other than Atlanta, Suarez, I really haven't seen him do anything.
Right,
so,
he's been out to lunch.
I mean, so
Trackhouse as a whole, I guess you could say, has been down a little bit, but.
The bigger storyline here too is Kyle Busch is 112 points below the cut line, so that's pretty much win territory. Okay. So
that's what I was wondering. I don't follow point values that much as far as understanding how many points you would need in order to get back to where you could get back into the playoffs. How far back could you be and still mathematically get in?
I mean, mathematically he still can.
Right, but he's a very long shot at this point to get in on points. So he pretty much does have to win, like you said.
So it's like 60 points is one race, plus if you get win both stages. And that's so he's almost full 2 races out. Yeah. And you're not going to get someone on that cut line to falter that much in 4 weeks. I mean, it'd be pretty abysmal if that ever happened. So that's...
So who's in realistic point contention to both fall out and to get back in?
So I want to say Chase Briscoe in 18th is 83 points out. Okay. So I have him as a must-win with Kyle Busch. So I feel like the only one who could really point their way in at this point would be Bubba Wallace, and he's 7 points behind Chastain.
He's the first driver out. He's the first one below the cut line. Okay.
So the last 3 in are Ty Gibbs at plus 42. I feel confident in him.
Yeah, he's run well.
Chris Buescher is plus 17, and I feel like he struggled more this year than I thought he would.
Yeah, I agree.
And Ross Chastain, of course, plus 7. So I want to say Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain are the two there that are on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to put it that way.
So Buescher, Chastain, and Bubba are really the guys that we're watching battle into this playoff spot here over these next, 4 races?
Yes.
Next 4 races. So we've got Richmond, Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington is the actual cutoff race there. And these are the guys that are probably going to be battling for that last spot in that scenario.
Yep. So on to the Xfinity Series. They have 6 races left before their playoffs start. For the regular season championship, Cole Custer has a pretty decent lead at 56 points over Justin Allgaier. Custer just finally got his first win of the year, which is I expected him to dominate more than what he has.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that he's run poorly, he just hasn't quite pulled through.
It's actually kind of wild that they're as stable as they are with SHR being in such turmoil as a whole. Like, they've still been consistently fast every week, even though he hasn't won a lot of races.
So, Austin Hill's back 87. I mean, there's 6 races, so I could see maybe Allgaier having a shot at the regular season championship. Considering I see him perform usually a little bit better than Custer and stuff most of the time. I think Allgaier got himself into a few bad races there.
Yeah, that's true.
And because at one point he won 6 straight stages and a couple of races there. Well, he's only won 1 win, but I remember the stretch of 3 races where he won every stage.
Yeah.
But
there was a stretch there. It's like, how is Justin Allgaier going to lose today?
Yeah.
And not so much how is he's going to dominate this race.
Yeah. Down at the cut line, Ryan Sieg, they only have 12 drivers in, so Ryan Sieg in 12th place is the last driver in. I heard they have a little more SHR support.
Yeah, they've been in a big uptick this year, I think, as a whole.
It's +3 over Sammy Smith, who fell out last week because of the first wreck there on the first lap at Indianapolis.
Okay.
So he kind of ran around the race with a limped car. Then Brandon Jones is 69 points behind. I think he made up a lot of ground because of that incident at Indy, but he's going to probably need that week in and week out to make up enough points. So other than Sammy Smith, everyone else below, for Brandon Jones and below, probably a must-win. I expected the JRM cars to perform better than what they have.
Yeah.
Although I think Brandon Jones had a stretch of a few races of mechanical issues that just took him out, whether it was engine, steering, or something of that matter. Sammy Smith, he hasn't seemed to perform like I expected him to. And Ryan Sieg has definitely outperformed what he had been doing, so it'd be cool to see Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. So who are the guys actually battling for those spots based on points alone?
So, technically Allmendinger, Creed, Klingerman, and Sieg are the last 4 in on points. Allmendinger's up 102, and Sheldon Creed's up 69. I feel pretty confident in them 2 guys. Klingerman, is that how you...
Klingerman, yeah.
It's +46, so if he keeps a steady performance, and no new winners or anything, of course, I think he's all right. Ryan Sieg, Sammy Smith are about the main 2 on points because they're only 3 points apart. So that's the battle between those 2. Barring a new winner.
Gotcha. And there's 6 races to there.
Yeah. So a lot can happen in 6 races.
That's true. I think it's kind of wild that these playoffs don't all start at the same time. I think that's a marketing mistake by NASCAR. Yeah. I'm just going to throw that little comment in there as we move along here.
Yeah, it's in the fact that the Cup is 10 races, and I think it's Xfinity or something is less than 10, or trucks were less than 10.
Trucks are definitely less than 10, and Xfinity is less than 16 drivers. Like, it's not consistent across the board.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the trucks need to have 16 guys in either.
Yeah.
But that's...
Maybe 16 is too much for the Cup Series.
16 is too much for the Cup Series. And I think that in the Truck Series, you should just go back to eliminating it and let it be a regular straight-out point system. Forget about the playoffs.
Yeah. Speaking of the Truck Series, they have 1 race before their playoffs, so probably not much going to change between now and then. Christian Eckes has a 50-point lead on a regular season championship, so he...
Probably not catching him.
Corey Himes in second.
I was going to say, I'll guess that Corey Himes second in points.
And then they have a pretty sizable gap over Ty Majeski, who...
They've been dominant all year over everybody.
So, on to the playoff picture, the cutoff. It's a tight battle between Tanner Gray and Daniel Dye, 5 points difference. Tanner Gray is last one in. Ben Rhodes is plus 22. So, I mean, if he has a bad day, he could get knocked out. But considering it's one race, I mean, I think he finished top 20, probably pretty safe. So, Stuart Friesen's minus 16, so that's a doable gap if he, say, gets some strategy, some stage points or something, and Tanner Gray doesn't. So Daniel Dye, who I've seen up front a lot more this year than I had in the past. So he
used to be right behind the wreck every time last year. He was the camera guy for FS1.
Yeah. So I mean, Tanner Gray and Taylor, I've been watching. I thought for sure they were running pretty good this year too at times. So
it seemed like it.
Them being on the cut line, of course, when you got 5 guys, that one races it pushes you down the cut line also.
So this to me is kind of wild because I'm watching you go back and forth on your screen here. What you have to do is monitor the regular season championship because there's bonus points, playoff points awarded for that. So you have to go to one set of standings that just is a factor of how many total points you've earned this year. And then you have to go to another page to get the playoff standings, which is those same points but factored in amongst wins.
Yeah.
And this is just such a ridiculous point system that we have to adhere to in order to keep track of all this. Like, we get it because we're immersed in it, but try to explain this to somebody else. That's something else that we did in our preseason preview was try to explain what the NASCAR playoff system's like. And it's wild the way that this is laid out and how you have to keep track of things.
You need a PhD in mathematics to figure that out. So
too many PhDs at the helm of the sport is the problem.
Yeah. So that's your playoffs. Look out for the next few weeks.
Okay. Now, do me a favor here. Let's start at the trucks, go to the Xfinity Series. Just list all the drivers in the playoffs and the guys that are just below the cut line that are still in contention to make it on points. And that way we know that if we didn't list a driver, they have to win to get in. So just lay out who's in the playoffs plus who's in close contention to that cutoff line.
So for the truck series, in is Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, Nicholas Sanchez, Ty Majeski, Raja Caruth, Tyler Ankrum, Grant Enfinger, Taylor Gray, Ben Rhodes, Tanner Gray, and just out right now, Daniel Dye and Stuart Friesen are in contention.
Gotcha. Okay.
Xfinity Series, in right now is Shane Van Gisbergen, who has the most wins on the year for the Xfinity Series. So.
Wait a second. Before we move on, Shane Van Gisbergen is leading the playoff points in the Xfinity Series. Where is he in the regular season standings?
Oh, I didn't even think to look up the regular season. Let's see here. 13th.
Wow. So it's purely based on the amount of wins that he's had. He's won every road course race there is. And that's why he's leading the playoff standings right now. And he's so far down in the actual regular season standings. Yeah. That's wild.
So in is Shane Van Gisbergen, Austin Hill, Chandler Smith, Sam Mayer, Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, Riley Herbst, Jesse Love, AJ Allmendinger, Sheldon Creed, Parker Klingerman, and Ryan Sieg are in the playoffs as of now. And about the only one I say he was in contention to point in is Sammy Smith.
All right.
The Cup Series, and more and more drivers I got to list on. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, Alex Bowman, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, and Ross Chastain are all in. And I say the only one contention to point in would be Bubba Wallace.
Okay, so if anybody else was unnamed, such as Kyle Busch, they've got to win in order to get in.
Yes.
Pretty much. Okay, so that's kind of a look at where the playoffs are right now across all 3 series. And I'm sure that we're going to do an actual playoff preview when it gets set. But that's just kind of where things have shaken out in this Olympic break and what we're looking at right now. There's how many races to go in the Cup Series?
4.
There's how many races to go in the Xfinity?
6.
And there's how many to go in Truck?
1.
Before those series playoffs starts. So we're going to try to make sense of all that and make sure that you're able to keep track of it before we actually get to that point, because it is complicated and we're just so sick that we're engrossed in this still. All right. What are we looking at next here? The mid-season update. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with both our picks every week, the drivers that we pick, where we are in our competition with each other. And I had Ryan run the numbers to figure out where we are in contention with actual Cup Series drivers. So if I scored the amount of points that my pick made, or my pick earned that week, how would I stack up in the Cup Series standings? You did the same thing for you. First off, let's talk about where we are as a whole. So how many actual winning picks have you had this year?
We both have 3 each.
Okay, so we both have 3 wins, so to speak. Yeah. What is our actual points with each other?
You're at 18, I'm at 16.
Okay, so I've got a two race lead on you with.
Well, I mean.
Well, okay, a 2-point lead on you, meaning that I picked 2 higher finishing drivers than you did, and obviously a win's worth 3 points, so you could end up jumping me in just 1 race.
Yeah.
And your average finish on the season is
15 point.
We're just gonna say we'll just say 15.
15 on.
And that stacks up where in the Cup Series?
12th.
So an average finish of 15th is 12th among average finishes in the Cup Series right now.
Of full-time drivers, because there were some.
Right.
Brad Hand had a second place finish.
Yeah, Brad Hand's doing pretty well. And then my average finish is 11.4, rounds down to 11.
Is that Joey Hand, I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Joey Hand.
I think we did that same thing when we actually talked about it.
He drives for Brad, but that was...
Yeah. Isn't Brad Hand a baseball pitcher or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I thought that name
sounded... He played for Cleveland, that's why...
The name sounded right.
Yeah.
Okay, so my average finish is 11th, and that would rank me 3rd among all Cup Series drivers. So that's where we stack up there. I'm just a little bit ahead in average finish. I'm just a couple points ahead. But this is the stat that really got a hold of me. So you went through and totaled up the actual physical points that we would have accumulated if we finished in the position that the driver we picked finished. I don't know if I'm making this make sense when I explain it, because it is kind of difficult to wrap your head around. So just to give you an example, at the Daytona 500, I picked Denny Hamlin. He finished 19th. I picked Corey LaJoie at Atlanta. He finished 13th. I picked Ryan Blaney at Las Vegas. He finished 3rd. So the amount of points that those drivers earned in those races are being added to my point total. And in your case, you picked, Brad Keselowski, who finished 33rd, Joey Logano, who finished 28th, Kyle Larson, who won the race. So those points that were earned by those drivers were added to your total. And we compared that to the points that were earned in the actual Cup Series, and you've scored 669 points, and that would rank you where in the Cup Series?
5th.
All right. I scored 768 points. Where would that rank me?
So that would put you the leader.
I would be leading the Cup Series point standings if I actually finished where the drivers that I picked finished. That's an impressive stat to me. I think that's wild that actually ends up taking place. It tells you that, I mean, if you're...
It's interesting. You got a 0 because you picked SVG one weekend too. Just like Larson missed a race, you picked SVG and he doesn't earn Cup points. So
that's okay. I'm like, I knew I picked a 0, but I thought it was for the All-Star race.
Yeah, that was a 0 for both of us.
Right? Yeah, because it didn't count. And then I was like, I thought that was the only 0 I picked. But yeah, I picked Shane Van Gisbergen at Chicago because I thought he was going to win the race and probably should have, but he doesn't earn any points. So just like Kyle Larson, I've missed a race and I'd still be beating him in Cup Series points. That's wild. I didn't think that. I thought that we were probably pretty good at predicting who was going to finish well in races, at least run well, because, some of these guys that we pick, they have bad finishes, but they ran well throughout the day.
Yeah.
And, I thought that this was going to be something that the viewers could use if they were interested to find out who was going to run well that particular week, a good little preview, whatever you wanted to do with that information. And here we are, 1st and 5th in the actual Cup Series points without how we've got that set up. So I think that's pretty awesome, actually. Okay, moving on from that, I want to talk a little bit about our preseason predictions. At the very beginning of the year, we did a preseason show. One of our first on, actually it was our first on video. And we went through team by team to determine where we thought that they would end up being. And I went through and rewatched it and took some notes here. I didn't go through the entire list of people, but I think I hit the highlights here. So starting with Trackhouse Racing, we said that Ross Chastain would have 2 wins or more, and Daniel Suarez would be looking for a new job.
Yeah.
Daniel Suarez has won a race, and Ross Chastain has not and is fighting for his life on the Cup Series playoff cut line. So missed that one a little bit. We definitely didn't. And you're right. It was a lucky win for Suarez because the way Atlanta is and all that.
I'm curious. I believe this is Suarez's last year on his contract, and they said they've been trying to work towards a deal. And I haven't heard anything officially that anything's been done yet. So
I haven't heard anything about Daniel Suarez, both on or off the racetrack. Yeah. You don't hear much from him every week.
Although he won down in Mexico or something this weekend. So.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. He went and got married down there. I think Tyler Reddick did also. And Suarez said, hey, I'm going to get married. I think it was Brazil, right?
It could be Brazil.
He got married in Brazil and then decided he was going to go race and won. I mean, Suarez is a very talented race car driver as a whole. I'm not taking anything away from him there. But, it's just not with the elite Cup drivers. Just put it that way. Speaking of elite Cup drivers, Team Penske. Joey Logano, we predicted that he would have one win this year. He does have one win this year, albeit on fuel mileage, and very lucky there. I'm definitely willing to admit that. We thought that Ryan Blaney would have 3 wins this year. I don't know how many does he have. He's got at least 2, I think.
Yeah, I think he has. He probably should have 3. But
yeah, he should have 3 with the gateway issue. He's got 1, 2. Yeah, just 2. He won at Pocono in Iowa.
Okay.
And should have won at Gateway, as we said. So we predicted he'll have 3 wins. That's very, very reachable still, especially with the way that he's running. And even the Brickyard, he very well should have won that race. I'm sure he's frustrated at the ones that have gotten away. I don't know which is worse, to be in a situation where you're not fast and like a Kyle Busch situation where you're not fast and you don't know what to do to get better, or maybe you are getting incrementally better but not good enough to win. Or if you're Ryan Blaney, where it's like you have everything there and you're missing out on those wins because of fluke situations here and there. Either way, we thought he'd get 3 wins. It's very much in reach. Austin Cindric, we really didn't give a prediction on him. We actually said if he didn't perform well this season that he could probably be out at Penske, and he's got to win. He won at Gateway due to Blaney's misfortune. So I would say that he's probably sticking around there a little bit.
Yeah, at least another year or something. I feel like he's had an uptick in performances lately. So.
Yeah. Where's he at in the points, Cindric? Because I don't think that he's run that well, but it's definitely picking up some.
He is 19th.
That's not awful compared to everybody else. So I don't know. I don't think that that's too bad overall. RCR, we said that Kyle Busch would possibly have 2 wins. He has none and doesn't look like there's any in sight. And Austin Dillon, we predicted would have no wins. And if he had a year as bad as he did last year, we thought that this could be the end of Austin Dillon in the Cup Series. Excuse me. Stuart Haas Racing, we said that they were going to be a dumpster fire, and they are, but largely because we thought that they were probably switching manufacturers, and we didn't know who was going to be in their cars, and they've got Ryan Preece and Chase Briscoe, who we now know is moving on. I don't know what's happened with Preece. We know that Josh Berry is going to drive the 21. That's 3 different cars in 3 years, and he's still a rookie in the Cup Series. And
4 because he drove the 48 also. So.
That's right. Yeah. So, just a wild series of events for Josh Berry there. Just trying to make a go of it in the Cup Series. Can't find some stable ground. Who am I missing? Got Preece, Berry, Briscoe.
Going to 19.
Yeah, I said that. Preece, Briscoe, Berry.
Gregson.
Noah Gregson. Another guy that's had some trouble finding some sure footing, but he's going to end up going to Front Row Motorsports. I assume to drive the 34. I don't think they actually announced that.
Yeah, they haven't announced it yet because they have the charter too because they bought that extra charter
from SHR. So so that's going to be an interesting scenario for him there and how that all goes. But we definitely predicted that they were going to be an unstable organization this year. I don't think we saw them going out of business.
No, I didn't.
And they're not truly going out of business. They're kind of rebranding with Haas Factory Team. It's wild because I think it was either this year or last year they changed their logo.
Did they?
Yeah, it was like the first time they've updated the logo since they've been in business, and now it's like totally going away.
I hadn't even noticed.
But yeah, we predicted that they were going to be trash because of the manufacturer issue primarily. Thought maybe they were going back to Chevy, so we thought this was going to be a lame duck year. Turns out it is, but for totally different reasons. Hendrick Motorsports, fanboy over here, said that he thought that any one of those drivers was capable of winning 4 or more races. And when we really broke it down, I asked him if he thought Kyle Larson would win 5 or more. He said more. Chase Elliott would win 3. William Byron could win up to 5. and we thought Alex Bowman might even win 2. And I say we loosely because I'm not associating myself with that. Kyle Larson winning 5 seems to be very realistic. I think I'd stand by that. Elliott winning 3, I don't know if that'd be the case. You don't know what happens in the playoffs. It's like its own separate thing. I don't think I'd see him getting a 3rd win before the playoffs start.
Probably not, no.
Clip this in 2 weeks when I'm wrong.
Got Watkins Glen and Charlotte Roval coming up. Those are his 2 best tracks.
Yeah, historically. William Byron winning 5. He's fallen off a cliff lately. As far as, well, I shouldn't say lately.
Yeah.
He fell off a cliff and he's kind of starting to come back up now. His performance, I don't think he's going to get to 5 wins, and I don't see Bowman winning the 2nd one. I didn't see him winning 1.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes. RFK, we said that they were going to partner with Rick Ware Racing this year, and they were going to have an uptick in performance. Rick Ware was. That seems to have come true. Justin Haley's done really well for them. We predicted both Brad and Chris getting 2 wins. Chris was really close. Excuse me. Was really close at the beginning of the year at getting 2 wins, and Brad's got 1, and he's been in contention for some others. So I guess I could see that being possible, although their performance seems to have settled down a little bit. Yeah. I could see it picking back up towards the end of the summer. I don't think 2 wins apiece is out of reach for them, although it's a lot closer for Brad than it is Chris. I think that I think Buescher's really going to have to pick it back up. And he was almost going to win at Darlington. He was almost going to win at Atlanta. Almost going to win at Kansas. So there's 3 races right there that he was really close on. Spire is the one that I thought I missed big time, and you were really good at this prediction here. I said that Spire was going to be on the rise, and Spire Motorsports is on the rise, but for 2025. 2024 is going to be nothing for them. They've got Rodney Childers. We just learned that Coil of Joy is out, which I did predict that once this news started to break a little bit that Childers was going to the 7 car, and they didn't say who the driver was going to be. I said, I bet you Coil of Joy is out. And turns out he is. He's not going to return there. Carson Hocevar is outperforming him. I assume Connor Zilich is coming in there at some point, some way, getting into a ride there. Who's in the 71? Zane Smith.
Yeah.
Where are those guys in points? Let's just talk about the Spire cars.
Carson Hocevar is 24th.
Okay, Corey's 28th.
Yeah, 8th, and I think Smith he struggled very hard at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, right there. Oh no, right there. 33rd.
33rd, okay, yeah.
So they're definitely in the back half of the points. They've had some good runs here and there, but I said that I thought that the 7 car was going to outrun them all by far, and you laughed at me and said that Carson Hocevar was going to outrun them, outrun all of them, and that was going to be by far. And you're clearly right. I mean, he's definitely performed a lot better, so I took a big L there.
I think Hocevar, being the rookie he is, has probably let a few better finishes go too. So I feel like he could have been even higher in the standings.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I agree with you too.
He hasn't finished out races like a veteran would or something like that.
Yeah. So despite being the Cup Series point leader, I ended up missing on that prediction pretty bad. But I feel like we were pretty aligned on everything else as far as our thoughts go. And I think that where they're stacking up is relatively close based on the 0 pieces of information that we had at the beginning of the year. What else do we got to talk about? Let's hit some of the news this week. Why don't you go ahead and take it away? You did all the research for this.
Obviously, we just talked about Corey LaJoy is no longer returning to the 7, which is curious now that who will be in that car. I don't know what you heard about Connor Zilich, because that's the first I heard of him being.
Oh, I just know he's in Trackhouse's fold, and I could see them. I don't know that they're going to put him in a Cup car right away.
I see.
But I don't know. I feel like that's a hot name right now for people.
I heard rumors that they may have cleared that spot for Zane Smith because Zane's performance lately has been on the uptick or whatever, so that they may actually keep him because he's technically a Trackhouse name. But Trackhouse, if they're going to keep Suarez and Chastain, I imagine SVG's coming over.
Okay.
So
I was like, Zane Smith's already there, though.
Yeah. Well, Zane Smith is on a Spire car under lease through Trackhouse.
Yeah.
So it was rumored that Zane was going to go over to Trackhouse.
Okay.
And
I thought we were talking about the 7 car being open, so that's why.
But I'm just saying maybe the 7 car is now open for the keep Zane because McDowell's coming over to the Spire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the missing point. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yes.
There's kind of a revolving door going on right now.
I gotcha. So did McDowell actually say he's going to be in the 71, or did they give him
Actually, I don't think they did give him a number.
Okay, so he could be coming right to the 7 to work with Childers.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
Yeah, I mean, for the performance that I know McDowell can put up with a crew chief like Childers, he might be a threat to look out for.
Yeah. Let's keep this particular podcast in mind when he's 34th in the points next season.
Juan Pablo Montoya, he's back.
Jet dryers beware. Keep them things off the racetrack when he's there.
Going to drive at Watkins Glen, was it?
Yeah. Who's he racing for?
The 50 car for 2311.
Okay.
So.
That might not be a bad entry.
No,
it could be. He could be really fast there.
And I don't know. This isn't really necessarily news, but there is rumors that Sam Mayer is being coined to go to the FRM car, Front Row Motorsports.
In the 34, or we don't.
I don't think they've announced any numbers.
So we've got McDowell leaving Front Row in the 34. Yeah. We've got Gregson coming in.
Yeah.
And now we've potentially got Sam Mayer coming in.
Plus Todd Gilliland's there.
So Todd Gilliland's there with McDowell right now.
Yeah.
That's 2 cars. They've added a 3rd charter.
Yes.
So McDowell's leaving, and now Gregson's coming in and possibly Sam Mayer to fill all 3 cars with Todd Gilliland. Okay. Yeah. I'm back on track now.
So that's interesting fact there. I shouldn't say fact because it's a rumor.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said
interesting fact of a rumor.
But the only other thing is be interesting to see what the Richmond, they're running the tire options this weekend, or next weekend, or however you want to say it.
Do we know if NASCAR is going to let them choose like they did at the street course? When and what tire they want to put on, or is it going to be mandated?
This isn't like the it's not a wet weather tire.
Right.
It's like what they ran at the All-Star race. I believe it's let them run whenever.
Gotcha.
Whatever,
so it is going to be more similar to the All-Star race, to where it's like you've got a red and a yellow tire. You pick whatever one you want to put on whenever.
Yeah, I know there's 2 sets of the option tire, and then their normal allotment of the regular tires.
Gotcha.
So for as long as those things held on in the All-Star race, I don't know. Richmond is probably a little more porous track than what the All-Star race, because that was just freshly repaved.
Right.
North Wilkesboro was. So I can see that everybody's probably just save those sets for the last couple runs of the race and see what happens, is what I see happening. But
yeah. It'd be interesting to see. It depends on how hard it is to pass at Richmond. If that's the case, I could see somebody putting a set on early, trying to get all their track position, and then play their fuel strategy out and save 1 set for the end.
Yeah.
Again, I'm no crew chief. I'm just the Cup Series points leader. All right, anything else you wanted to talk about today before we get out of here? That's all I got, too. I think that was a really good playoff rundown that you did there. Kind of embarrassed ourselves a little bit on some of these predictions. And pretty pleased with our performance and our picks this year, too. So looking forward to – we are going to Richmond next, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so looking forward to that race and seeing what that's going to be like. It is an evening time race. Doesn't start till 6. Is it Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be a Sunday night race because, who cares about the fans? And then we're going to go to Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington, going to be the cutoff race there. I'm looking forward to really everything on the schedule. Richmond's a little indifferent to me. Don't know how that one's going to go, but I'm looking forward to Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington for absolute sure. And we will be back after the Richmond race to talk about it. In the meantime, make sure that you follow us on our Instagram, our TikTok, obviously here on YouTube, and Twitter as well. So keep all those things in mind and keep coming back to the garage area for all of your NASCAR news.